Hello, everyone. This is Manolo Concepcion talking to you from Illinois here in the United States of America. This is Volley Junkies, a project that was started a couple of months ago with the purpose of education and learning from backgrounds and experiences from coaches and players and people in the volleyball community around the world. Tonight, I have a really special guest, someone that I consider a good friend of mine, and someone that has been involved in indoor volleyball and also in the para volley world of volleyball as well. Please welcome the captain of the USA Paralympic national team, Mr. Eric Duda.
Hello,
Eric.
Hello, Manolo.
How's everything going?
With everything going on, I think things are going pretty well. Team USA, we're about to have a training camp, so things are going well.
And Eric is also the head volleyball coach for the men's team in Live University in Atlanta in the NAIA. How is that project going as well?
Our season got cut off last year in the middle. But thankfully, our eligibility clock reset for pretty much all my guys. I built up with recruiting. We're going to have a really, really solid class coming up. And so although our schedule is kind of still up in the air, I'm looking forward to doing a lot of damage in the NAIA.
How many players do you have on your roster right now?
As of today, I have 24 on my roster.
24 players, and I hear that from those 24 players, you have around 12 Puerto Rican players. So you are correct. Or you are officially the coach with the most Puerto Ricans in any college team in NCAA and NAIA, probably in the history of sports.
I'll take it. I love it.
That is awesome. And speaking of that, talk to me about the importance of diversity and inclusion in a program like yours. And you have been the same way since you were also a coach in junior college, then as an assistant in the NCAA. You were also, of course, a volunteer, but that has always been one of your priorities. What is the key for that, Eric?
For me, it's similar to like with Starlings and USA Volleyball about the opportunities and experiences. I go to where I know people are passionate about volleyball, and I want to give them the opportunities in order to get that full experience of being a collegiate player. So I love to be able to help out as many people as possible that can use the help.
And of course, you being also part of the Paravolley family, you definitely understand the importance of inclusion. Has it always been like that for you, Eric? Like, have you always felt included in the sport world when you were growing up?
Oh, no. Thankfully, I got to play for my high school team, and I ended up being a co-captain my senior year. The coach, though, didn't know how to coach me, whether fear or whatever it may be, but he didn't really embrace all I could do. So a lot of learning I had to do on my own. And then in college, I didn't even know about the Paralympics at that point. In like my sophomore year is when a referee came up to me and said, "Hey, there's this Paralympic team. Can I get your email address?" And email was still a new thing at that point. And I was like, sure. And I got an email, and they flew me out to a tryout, and I ended up joining that team. But up until that point, I had no idea about disabled sports or anything like that. Thankfully, with social media, like what we're doing right now, it's it's making it easier to be inclusive.
How is it to grow up, with a disability? I'm partially blind, and it hasn't been easy for me, to adapt to my new life
Yeah.
since 2002. So what's the process that a younger kid goes through in middle school, and then high school, in just regular life, Eric?
It's thankfully now, like, I get to be a mentor to a lot of these kids of that, like, hey, no, you could still be athletic, you could still put on muscle, you don't need to worry about like prosthetics or anything like that, because all the technology is catching up, which is amazing. But yeah, the disabled sports world is growing, so that is the good news as far as opportunities and everything like that. But for me growing up, it was thankfully my parents said, hey, I don't care about your excuse, you're going to try and push through it. And so that kind of made my personality of, hey, there shouldn't be any kind of excuse for you to be able to get through whatever you needed to. But it was isolating at times because there was no coach that truly knew how to get me through those hiccups.
In terms of everything else, what are some of the things that we should know about the Paralympic world? In terms of, like, for example, I know that for recruitment in the Paralympic world, it's probably an older type of recruitment, right, Eric?
Right now, yes. And the United States and Puerto Rico, we're a little bit behind as far as recruiting goes, because the U.S. Paralympics and Olympics are non-government. And so the government can't identify athletes that are disabled, or just anybody in the population are disabled, versus certain other countries like Europe and stuff, where it's like you're automatically identified. Hey, you're really easy to become part of their system. So we, in the United States, we have to fight to get recognized. Even like soldiers and stuff like that who come back injured, it's tough for us to identify with them. Because it can't be known through the VA that they're disabled. So we have to go out and approach a lot. And so that's right now, it is a little bit tough. And then volleyball players are even more behind the eight ball because track and field is a little bit more popular as far as getting the limelight from US Paralympics. So volleyball, we have to compete with the other sports of getting these disabled athletes. So yeah, we're trying.
Are there opportunities out there for middle schoolers and high school? Like, are there leagues, or is it only club? Like, what's out there for that population?
We're really trying to get stuff happening. Right now, the only leagues, as far as disabled sports goes, is wheelchair basketball. To their credit, they are super organized. They even have some college teams for wheelchair basketball. And they are getting it done in terms of recruiting. But sitting volleyball, we're still trying to get it off the ground. Perhaps in my next job, I might try and take on building up some leagues and stuff for the kids. There are local chapters. It's called Blaze Sports, and they introduce young disabled people to various different types of Paralympic sports. Every now and then they'll bring in volleyball, but for the most part, it's wheelchair basketball.
You have been selected Male Player of the Year multiple times, and then you have been an Olympian in very different years. Tell me a little bit about the keys for durability within your sport before we get into the rules and regulations.
For me, it's just keeping my shoulders warm and healthy. I had a torn labrum on my shoulder early in my career, and it really forced me to be disciplined as far as warming up, taking care of the rotator cuff and all that kind of stuff. As far as lower leg flexibility, I just am lucky enough with keep on playing that I stay limber. Apparently, I have very freakishly limber hip flexors, so that has allowed me to just keep on playing. You don't have as much like pounding in your knees and lower joints from sitting volleyball, but it's pretty much all in the shoulders. And so you just, I guess I've been lucky as far as durability goes with that, but that's my little.
What are the role descriptions by position in your sport? How does it look like?
Well, I might need to talk to my coach. We're the last quad we were really trying to run a 6-2.
Okay.
And I was one of the setters. We would transition out of the back row. In sitting volleyball, we play a middle up defense, and the setter is in middle back.
Okay.
And we transition and we run the full offense, even back row hitters and everything like that. This year we're changing things up. I don't want to tip the hat to any other countries listening right now, but we're going to have a little bit of a different system. I'm looking forward to it because the last camp prior to coronavirus hitting, we were firing on all cylinders with this new system.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of like, if I am an outside hitter for Team USA, like what are my characteristics? Like, what are some things that I need to be doing or prepare for?
Well, so in sitting volleyball, it's almost like beach.
Everyone doing everything?
Pretty much. You're going to be passing a little bit more, but we copied some of the best countries in the world who, like with Bosnia, Iran, if there's somebody bombing a serve at them in zone 1 and all they could do is pass to zone 4, they pass to zone 4 and that guy's more than happy to set whoever they need to. And they are completely flexible with their full offense. And so we're like, well, I guess, we need to, in order to beat them, we're going to copy them. So we definitely have tried to implement everybody's capable of pretty much every skill. Now, I'll tell you, I don't enjoy playing middle. I started off my career as a middle, and I see one of my coaches is on watching right now. I don't want to play middle ever again, but if what the team needs is for me to do it, I'll do it.
Why is the middle so difficult in paravolley?
Well, it's difficult for me because I have 2 very long legs.
Okay.
And you need to be able to flip your legs over quickly to push and go close the block. Now, there's some of my teammates who only have 1 leg, so it's really easy for them to change directions. And they're a really talented, very fast doing it. Where it's like I use my reading to do it.
Let's start there. So tell me, what are some of the keys to be a really good middle? Like you mentioned that the length of your legs are definitely something that has to do with the success of a specific position. So, can you tell me more about that?
Just being a successful sitting volleyball player in general, the longer your arms, the better off you're going to be.
Okay.
I'm one of the taller guys on our team at 6'5", but no, I don't love the middle of the show. I'm one of the taller guys, but my reach is towards the shorter end of the spectrum for our team because we got some long arm guys. One of my good friends, Roderick, he's missing his basically at the middle of his leg, or the shin, and because he doesn't have that foot in the way, he can push either direction very easily, and he doesn't trip over his own feet when he does it. So long legs and just like a bulldog mentality to close a block is basically what you need.
Okay, give me a crash course of the rules of the game, and maybe like compare it to the actual indoor game. Like what are some things that we should know about, Eric?
When you pretty much all the rules are the same as far as ball handling and stuff goes.
Okay.
But when you make contact with the ball, you have to have somewhere between the middle of your thigh and middle of your chest touching the ground. So
Difficult.
usually it's one cheek is what they ask you to be on the ground when
Okay.
you're making contact. But if you're going to do like a pancake or something like that, that counts. You can have your like belly on the ground.
Okay. And then,
you can put your feet underneath the net. There's certain countries out there who happen to start holding your feet and stuff like that. The back row attack is determined by contact height, like the indoor, but it's really, really watched because it's you can be in front of the 2 meter line, and if you hit below the net, you really have to shorten off your arm swing. But everything else is the same. And then the last one is serve line. It's where your butt ends is where you have to be behind, not your feet, because there's certain guys who don't have feet, so you can't really make that as a cutoff point.
What are the measurements of the court and the height of the net?
6 meters by 4 meters, and then the net is 1.89 meters.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what is my my requirement for me to be eligible to play in parabolic?
It kind of changes depending on what country you're from.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it ultimately it's going to come down to a third party coming in and figuring out how they interpret the rules. But for the most part, it is if you have, like myself, you're missing all fingers on one limb, or if you're missing 3 on both, if you have the fused knee or a fused ankle.
Okay.
Supposedly, if you have arthritis problems, you might be qualified to play as well.
What?
Yeah. So we can't ask other countries, like, how is this guy able to? So we just have to assume and figure out kind of.
Have you doubted about some people's eligibility out there?
100%. Yes. Yes, I have.
Okay. And about the Olympic level, do they still get away with some of this stuff?
Yes. Because once you get there at the Paralympic Games, they don't bother checking your paperwork because you've already been qualified through the other events.
Okay. So if you're there, you're supposed to be eligible, by consequence. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And right now, like, how many people go to the Olympics? How many teams?
Unfortunately, only 8 for the men's side, and I believe it's 8 for the women now as well. It might be 6. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. And then once you get into, how many people get into the Olympics? Like in terms of like qualifications, like how many qualifiers are there out in the world?
It's kind of rough. So you have a zone championship. So for the Pan Ams, and you have to win that one in order to get the one bid. Europe has one, Africa and Asia have one. You get a top 2 in world championships and the host country. And then the last spot is going to go to a last chance qualifier. So all the countries in the world that haven't qualified up to this point get a fight for one bid. So that's where we're at right now in our qualification cycle for the United States. We're waiting for this last chance qualifier, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully good things.
Do they keep stats, Eric? Are they like, is there like data volley and stuff going on? Like what's going on in the bench?
Quite a bit. Our head coach, Greg, is a big believer in stats.
Okay.
And we have several people who are associated with data volley, as well as several high-profile men's teams in college, as well as a couple women's teams that they are more than happy to give us all the whatever stats we need.
Love it. Yes.
So, but it makes the data volley people better because our game is so fast, and you're seeing it on the screen what kind of quick touches happen. That
Man.
your coding needs to be on a different level because of how quick the touches happen.
What happens if you're like me? I cannot sit that way. There's no way that I could actually play sitting that way, Eric.
You eventually you get better at it. There's a big learning curve that goes along with playing it well. I'll tell you that.
Hey, Laurie Okimura and me and I, we were talking about like how exciting this game looks like, and how this game should be even more popular than it is right now. Like, does it attract a good amount of public out there, Eric?
So in Brazil for the 2016 Paralympics, we actually had the biggest crowds of any Paralympic sport. So depending on where we're at, in Bosnia, when we go play there, everyone knows who we are. Like even the United States, like people recognize that we're sitting volleyball players there. So it's growing, but unfortunately, not as big as popular as standing volleyball right now.
I get it. I understand. And how many coaches are they like in a team usually? Is it two? What's the staff size there?
We're limited by each competition of how many we're allowed. But at the last competition in Pan Am's, we had, two assistants on the bench, athletic trainer, and the head coach. Then we had a couple other people in the stands. There you go, 7,000 attendance in Rio.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people. It's a lot more than the NCAA.
Hey, we're trying.
Yeah.
And then we had a couple of extra people in the stands helping scout the other matches as well. Okay.
What are some things like if I want to scout in paravolley, what are the priorities? Like, for example, in indoor, side out is the name of the game. Like, what are some of the most important stats in paravolley?
Yeah, for sure. The side out percentage. We had one match where we did 100% side out, and we were very happy with that. Yeah, it was a fun match. We all had really good numbers. Other than that, our serve quality. So much of our game, because as you could see right on the screen, you're allowed to block serves. Like I just kind of blocked into the net there. If you can still put another team in a bad serving position, even with 2 or 3 blockers in front of you, you're winning. You're going to win the match.
Do you know the average speed of those serves? Like being a shorter distance and, having a shorter net, like that ball has to be coming fast, just like softball.
So sometimes. And there are a couple countries, if you go looking for like Egypt and Iran, they'll intentionally serve slow into your block, and their teammate is right there with their hands, and they're going to joust you for it, and they push you down.
So that's part of the strategy.
100%. And like the first time you're playing against somebody like that, you're like, whoa, we just got like you pulled a fast one on us. That's not fair. You can't do that. But they 100% are intentionally doing that. So it can go from like 10 miles an hour. Our top speed server with the top spin is in the mid 40s.
Yes.
And so but it's tough if you're going top spin. Unless you're kind of tall, you run out of room to get it over the block and still get it in. So the only way you can go top spin heavy is if you only have 2 blockers and you can kind of go right in a gap.
Okay. And in terms of subs, how many subs do I get? 6 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And in and out once.
Do you also, of course, are you putting the libero where most balls go? So are you putting them in the middle of the court usually, Eric?
So sometimes we do, and then other times if we need 3 blockers up, we just put the 3 blockers and we pass front row. Like if there's a server that's giving a lot of trouble, we'll shift around after 2 or 3 serves, and we're just going to get whatever we can out of it.
Oh, sorry, I lost you there for a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so then do you have like serve specialists in para volley? Like is that a thing? I look at that. You guys are setting like quicks, like you guys are setting gap and go. Like what's the tell me a little bit about that.
And we're running pops and drifts out of the middle. I mean, you name it, we're going to try and run a full offense. We have the back row tempo sets.
And you said you're running a 6-2, and you said you do not like playing middle. Tell me about those hands, Eric. Like, are they sweet? Like, what's your set specialty? What's your best set right now? Remember that your coach is watching you, so he might judge.
He knows it. My stats will show it too. Is I love setting the middles.
Okay.
Mostly because I've been there enough, and you don't get set enough. So I feed the middles any chance I get, mostly because we have some of the most athletic middles in the world.
Wow.
And so I'm like, go ahead, feed them.
Is it better, like usually, Eric, is it better to keep the middle close to you, or is it better to, to throw it in an overload for a gap goal? Like what's the best format that at least works best for Team USA?
Oh, well, so it sounds bad, but we play against whatever disabilities are across the net from us.
Interesting.
So if I know a guy is missing his leg on one side, I know he's not going to be able to push in that same direction very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, if I know if he can close really well to his right, I'm going to stay away from running a 31. I'm going to keep it right on top of me. And so...
that's something that we don't think about for sure. So
correct.
Your strategy is based on that.
100%.
So when is that Greg Walker? Is that Coach Walker?
Yes.
Coach Walker. When Coach Walker is actually on the scouting report session, you guys are talking about those stuff.
Yeah, and then he has enough trust in us to be able to make that in-game decision of like, okay, we got to overload this side. Or if there's another guy missing a hand, like, okay, let's go high hands here. I'm going to just set you a high lollipop. You go ahead and crush hands.
Mm-hmm. Like is there a lot of like illegal plays being called because of people standing up, Eric, or like how are the refs? Like, for example, I feel like in the indoor game, especially in college, there's so many doubles being called in women's volleyball, too many. So, like, what's the call that you feel the most annoyed by in para volley?
Oh, so it's one of the more inconsistent ones is the butt lift. This is the call for the butt lift, and the World Para Volley said, "Oh, we're going to call it a little bit stricter going into this next quad," but it's still inconsistent across the world. As much as we would love it. So depending on which countries we're going to, we make our training camps reflect what the refs are going to be calling. Europe, they're not going to really call butt lifts at all because every country over there, they're all just going up and it's the game's so fast that you don't see that the guys are lifting up off their butt. If you're in the Pan Am zone,
do you have replays there?
No.
Is there replay as well? No?
Nope.
Well, that's unfortunate because they have replays, of course. Yeah. Okay. And in terms of like, how do we make it more popular? For example, like, do you see this being a game that we can bring into the college game, at least at the club level? You play club at UF. Can we make it a club sport in college?
I think so. And there's been some talks about possibly some SEC schools adopting Paralympic sports, and that'll be a way to get it involved, for sure. I also think not just in the college level, but in the older age groups, like at adult nationals, you see the 60, 70, 80 group, because, play it opens for sure. Mm-hmm. Because you don't have to worry about your knees or your ankles or anything like that. You can have a long career in playing sitting volleyball, especially if you play one match and your knees are killing you. Come on down and play our sport. You're going to be able to be have a fun time and still play volleyball.
How do you feel about people that are not usually eligible to play your sport being able to still have a division of that as well? How do you feel about like
bring them on
disabled divisions playing parabolic?
I would love to have at adult nationals just have so many teams, just like the regular divisions, that we got to fight our way through it.
And even mix up, because anyway, everyone is being seated, right? So if we're talking about inclusion, why do we need to separate both populations instead of just like, okay, let's find a way to make it even?
It is open to everybody right now.
Is it?
And it's not just disabled. I played for Team Evergreen last year, and we had 3 Paralympians and then 3 able-bodied people. So more the merrier. And then on a personal note, if we can get more able-bodied people out there, one, it's going to be more scouts to find and identify other athletes of, hey, I heard about this guy. You should go talk to him. Let's get him part of the pipeline. And then 2, like me, I have a college team that I get to play volleyball with and get my touches. But a lot of my teammates, they're hurting for a group of around them to get a chance to play. And so if we can get more able-bodied, we'll take it. Like, if you can hit balls at my guys, go for it. Like, let's get everybody better.
What do you think is keeping people or is holding people back from participating more often, especially like the disabled population? How do we get them more involved and at least getting the word out there that this is an option?
So it's a little bit of a, like, we need to have more events in the United States.
Okay.
And to get the word out there. The men's team, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to that, because there's not a lot of boys events that we could be playing at, versus the women's team has, like Crossroads, Windy City Qualifier, all those different events that USA Volleyball helps put on. So it's very easy to get them involved with that. Like the what we're seeing now was put on through the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and that was super awesome. But it was still tough to get boys and stuff involved with that.
Can we talk briefly about the beast, Nikki Nieves? Can you tell people how good is she, and why do we all need to be, watching someone like Nikki play?
Well, Nikki has the same kind of disability as me, and so one more hand amps out there, the better. I think it's going to make the game better. But I've watched her grow, and become better and better every year, and I'm super happy with her success in that term, because she grinded out. She moved to Oklahoma. She really worked on every part of the game. Originally, when she came to the sport, she was just a middle. She would go in and out, wouldn't play back row, and now she's working on her game for that. So it's I'm very happy and proud of her success there.
Eric, I'm prejudicial, so I'm gonna say that you're the best player out there because you're my really good friend, and then of course you're the team captain and you're being player of the year. But tell me some of the names that we should be paying attention to in the men's game.
It's so bad I don't actually know their names.
No, Eric, come
I
on.
know. Morteza, he plays for Iran. He
Yes.
is 8'3".
What?
Yeah. Um, I have a poster on my wall of when we visited Iran, and you
Wait,
could see his
how tall did you say that he was?
8'3".
Unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah, he is the second tallest human, third tallest alive right now. And he is like his reach when he's sitting is 6'3". So
More
that
than me.
there's no way to practice against that or anything like that. But it's so fun to play against.
Eric, do you go high hands against him?
No, I don't. I joust for the face because he doesn't protect that part, and it's already
Oh.
above the net. That's
Got it.
my trick to going after him.
And
As far as other countries go, Brazil, they got a couple of good players. Jiba, one of them, he's been just a perennial solid player. Not the same Jiba as the standing team. That he took the nickname over, I believe, after he retired.
And who's the most complete player in Team USA right now? Like, what are some of the good Team USA players that we should be considering?
Two of my
Especially
best
the younger
friends.
generation, Eric. Like, what's the younger generation like right now?
Well, so unfortunately, we're kind of top heavy as far as age goes, and we
Right.
got one young guy who's become more and more of a stud every camp. Zach Up. He is a lefty. He's
Yes.
maybe about 6'7", and he's getting better and better. He needs to put on a little muscle, but I mean, he's getting there. The other two, James Stuck and Roderick Green, they've been part of the program for a while, and they have worked on their part of the games that they needed to work on for the last 2 years, and they're getting more and more complete. Even though they both had surgery, they came out, and I think they're going to be a big key to our success.
Your team recently lost someone who's actually from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, he was just on screen.
Number 10. One of the, I don't know, he was really, really recognized in Puerto Rico as being one great human, someone that was a great referee. Of course, he played with you. Talk to me a little bit about him and his impact on your program, and tell me what he was able to do for that team.
It's I don't know if I could say all the words with what he helped out with the team.
No.
Obviously, with his extensive knowledge of refereeing, he was very helpful when it came to getting into the mindset of the referees and stuff like that, and helping us with that. And even though he wasn't floor captain, he would still argue certain rules and stuff. But he was also a very accomplished player too, and so he would pull some of these smart moves out of just these crazy tool shots and just super smooth volleyball. He had a really tricky float serve. Yeah, it was fun. And then just internationally, when we would go places, the amount of people that he knew and that would come up to him and talk, it was just like, wow, dude, you're the man in volleyball. I love it.
Eric, let's shift gears a little bit into your expectations for the next Olympics now. How does the team look? Are you guys training or not right now? And tell me a little bit about what do you guys think about going now into this great opportunity that hopefully happens in 2021?
So there's one more event. The details are still kind of getting figured out when it comes to when and where this event's going to take place. last I heard, it's probably going to be in Germany, but we don't know when and where in Germany. So that's a little bit apprehension when it comes to our qualifying, but hopefully we're going to get that info and we'll be able to plan accordingly. In terms of that, the coronavirus has thrown a lot into the air, because now we don't know internationally what athletes are going to be playing for their countries. They might be afraid to travel, and then that might affect how tough the team is. So, worst case, like, they come out full strength. With where we were at, we are going to be very competitive, and we're anticipating playing in the finals against one of two teams that it would be a tough match, but we were looking forward to it because we were just firing all cylinders. We have a training camp coming up at the end of September, and we're all looking forward to getting back in the gym and playing as a group again. But I think it's going to be fun to just see where we're at and where we need to progress to.
What country has surprised you the most that you had traveled with Team USA, that you have gone there and maybe something funny has happened to all of you guys, or any stories that you might have from international travel, aside from the fact that your flights are always delayed? For anyone that follows you on social media knows that.
Yeah. I would say there's so many good ones, but Egypt has been interesting every time we've gone. One time we watched the women play in the finals. They showered. We hopped on the bus. Our flight was taking off in about 3 or 4 hours. We start heading out to the airport from there, and we were maybe an hour away. We get on top of this bridge, and the bus just breaks down. And we're not in Cairo. We're in the outskirts. We're out in the boonies. Our bus driver somehow gets the fan belt working. He tied his belt to it or something to get it to work again.
What?
Yeah, but we were out there for a while. And so we ended up driving right up to the gate. The plane had already started boarding. And so we were getting yelled at by the Egyptian officials. They're like, "Why didn't you come earlier? What is wrong with you?" We're like, "It's not our fault." So they escorted us through the airport, and we made our flight. But that was a very stressful time for us, for sure.
Rio, what are some things that happened there that you're always going to remember? Tell me, first of all, and I asked this to Hugh McCutcheon as well. Tell me, what was your first impression coming into the gym? You were there. I know it was not your first Olympics, but man, it should feel like a first Olympic anytime anyway.
Oh yeah. I would never get used to that feeling. It's sacred ground, and I treat it as such. I'm like, okay. The first time you walk into the game arena, you're like, okay, we're here. You realize, hey, I'm representing something much bigger than my team and myself. And you realize all the hard work that got into it. It's definitely a surreal experience where it's like, you hear the story about the struggle to be Olympian and everything like that. And you're like, oh, wait, that's me. I'm on this side of the fence. Like, wow, holy moly. So it's very surreal. As far as memories of the village, I always, and amongst our team, we have the same thoughts, is the cafeteria is always such an amazing experience because you're there as fellow humans and you get to see everyone's culture on full display with how they're rocking their country's warm-up jackets, how they wear headscarves or the hats, the different type of prosthetics that you see being used by all the other countries too. And then the camaraderie ship of, like, I've had gentlemen from Japan just walk up to me and give me one of the toys where you like try and flip the ball on top of the cup kind of thing. I was like, thank you. And like everyone's exchanging pins. You get to see all different types of food in this cafeteria. And it's usually like in an airplane hangar. And so it's just big open space. And you're just seeing all these people. It's, yeah, I always look forward to that part. It's always fun. And then, oddly enough, McDonald's is a sponsor, so you can always go order whatever McDonald's you want.
Well, I mean, it's part of the experience, of course.
Oh yeah.
Now, in that first time, was it 2004, Eric?
Yes.
In that first time, do you go in and then does it give you flashbacks of all those moments that maybe throughout your growth look at you differently, treated you differently, margin you, or and like all these things? And do they go through your mind? Because they go through my mind. Like when I thinking back 2002 when I got partially blind, my life changed forever, in terms of all the things that I was able to do. For me, I feel normal now. But did that came up through your mind, you growing up, middle school, high school, and all those things that you talk about? Like, did that come to your mind in 2004?
Yes, in a way. It was more of, I was still living in Gainesville, Florida. I was just delivering pizzas at the time. I do the whole Olympic experience. We come back and my buddy picks me up from the airport and I'm just being back to a normal person, Joe Schmo, nobody knows anything about me kind of thing.
Incredible.
Right. And it was that always like a culture shock. Like you have people cheering USA, USA, and then
you go back to delivering pizzas.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, now, that's the grind of being an Olympic or a Paralympic athlete. Of you have 4 years or 3 years and 9 months of just doing whatever you can to do the sport that you love, and then you get the limelight for a month. Unless you're one of the few like Michael Phelps kind of thing, like congrats. But the rest of us, all the other sports, boy, you're just grinding.
Is your Olympic Center in Oklahoma?
Yes. University of Central Oklahoma.
Okay. Is it like, is it big? Like how many courts are there? Is it exclusively for paravolley?
Oh, that would be amazing if it was. It is a dual purpose. It serves as the wellness center for the university. We rent court space from them in the mornings. They put in 6 sitting courts in there. We've never used all 6. The most we've used 3 on one side, and that keeps us pretty busy. Outside of that, we get to use their weight room, and then they have provided housing for us right across the street. So,
if a college like mine wants to start like getting people interested in paravolley, am I able to use my nets and just lower it down and then make it happen? Like what's the easiest way to start this project?
So for most net systems, if you put it the top pole down all the way, and then you loop the top rope underneath that little hook that usually you tie the bottom string to, you loop it under there, you're right about the height that you need to be. As far as the dimensions go, it depends on how, like, you can play it within the 10-foot line on both sides, because that's the 6 meters. And so you're good there as far as width goes. And it's a little bit past the end line or the sidelines as far as the serve line goes. So you if you need to, you could play there. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's just that you're trying to experience it. You're going to enjoy it. You'll catch the bug that way if you're just trying it that way.
If you could have any specific resource now for Team USA to continue to improve and be successful in this matter, what would it be? Like what is needed right now?
More competition for our men's team. Even if it means other countries coming to us or we go to them. Our coach, and I'm going to butcher the numbers, but it's basically, I think we compared it against Germany, how many matches they get in a quad versus how many we get in a quad. They have like 4 or 5 times more than we do. Mm-hmm. If we can change that and get more matches happening, I don't see us having any problem, because we are the most athletic team in the world as far as just across the board, just strongest. But we don't have the volleyball IQ that a lot of these countries do, because they play so much. Like, there's no way we can compete with that. We could try with our athleticism, but it's still tough.
Is there any similarity of, like, because I know Team USA indoor uses, of course, motor learning as their basis of their game. Like, how much motor learning is involved into your Team USA? Like, in terms of the type of systems that you guys run, like how scientific does it get?
I think it's going to start happening more, but it's our team outside of Edgar, myself, an old guy, Jose Zabala, and Zach Up. Pretty much everyone is coming to the sport without any volleyball experience. Okay. And so we have to teach you how to move, and all our coaches are able-bodied. So it's tough for them to be able to, like, okay, I need you to push like this, but you're like, there's no way for me to do that. Like, it's tough for them to be able to figure out. Now they've gotten much better at it. Right. And that's why I said, I think we're about to be on the cusp of truly pushing the motor learning part. But it's, how can you tell a guy to cycle his leg around this way if he doesn't have his leg? Right. And so there's not a universal system in terms of true motor learning that you can apply to everybody.
Okay. And then last question I have about that is training. Like, what would a normal practice consist of? Like, if I'm a couple of weeks away from a major competition, what am I spending the most time on? Like, how does it look?
Usually we have a training camp on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's 5 or 6 sessions, so 2 a day, kind of thing. The last training camp is pretty much all scrimmage. This one coming up in September, since we're kind of far away, it's going to be a lot of skill-based. Usually maybe Sunday, if coach likes us, we'll scrimmage the whole time.
But when you say skill-based, what do I do? Like, what am I practicing?
So it's a lot of serve, pass, set kind of stuff. It's we're using the net quite a lot, but it's let's get more passing reps. Trying to pinpoint our serves, attacking seams or attacking high hands. A lot of setting reps for whoever might be the setter. So it kind of, and then just general moving. As much as I would like to say I do, I definitely don't push as hard as I do at camp, because I'm just one guy by myself. I'm not going to be able to get all the kind of different angles and everything reps that I would like to. And there's half our team is not full-time athletes. So we have to get back into that kind of groove.
How long is a practice normally?
Well, our head coach puts 2 hours sometimes, but it might go 2.5, 3. It's been known to go over.
And then if I saw some of the drills that you were working on today, and I invite anyone, to look at Eric's social media. He's really consistent into putting stuff about volleyball in general, including power volley. So like if I'm doing like stuff like that, like what are some of the conditioning stuff, or like even if I'm working on my own, like what are some of the things that I can be doing as well?
So our coaching staff, Joe Skinner, he's popped in a little bit on the comments. He gives us a weekly workout that we have to hit, or double weekly that we have to show progress on our skills and stuff like that. If you're just getting into it, one, it's get okay with how your feet are going to sit. It's going to take some work, but getting comfortable, and because you're going to blister your butt. I'll just tell you that now. If you play it a while, you're going to get some blisters. So getting used to that. And then it's retraining your brain that you need your hands to move, not your feet. And so
which we should be doing in indoor anyway as well.
Exactly. So even with the standing game, I've used this with my club athletes when I was coaching club. If you have a player who the first thing she does is grab her hands and then moves after a ball, sitting volleyball is the best way to break that, because there's no way to grab your hands and then move for a ball.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that then there are like a lot of similar stuff that we could be implementing, and then we could be falling in love with that game as well. And what are some things that you have brought to the game now at Live University coaching the men's team? Like, are there some things that you're implementing and you didn't realize that you were using so much of the power volley world into your team right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. One of the things is our blocking. For me, in sitting volleyball, the block doesn't disappear. And so I've gotten really good at being able to see the block and use it and hit wherever I need to. In the standing world, the block is up and down, and unless you got a really great vertical, you're not going to be doing too much adjusting in the air. So I sit the guys down. I'm like, okay, let's work on hand placement. Now the one skill needed of a high vertical, you've eliminated that for all your athletes, and they can get better at hand placement. And so that for sure is one thing I took out. Like, say, hey, you guys are all going to get really good at being able to shift your hands and not get tooled. The other part is just a mentality shift for me of so many athletes in sitting volleyball just get the ball however they can to the target. It doesn't have to be looking exactly this way, this textbook way, in order to get it done. If it's legal, boom, let's do it. And it opens up the window of creativity for the players. And then my expectations are you getting it done? Okay, good. I don't care what it looks like. And they get to express themselves a little bit more creatively, and it makes for just a more fun experience for them. And then we also happen to win as a result. I mean, they all enjoy it a little bit more.
How are you keeping 25 players or 24 engaged and feeling that they have an opportunity to actually play?
That's a great question. I'm not sure quite yet, but what's going to happen, I'm thankful that we're going to have 2 courts that we can run 6-on-6 with. And so that's going to be a nice thing that we're going to just be playing it all the time. And then in the NAIA world, you get unlimited subs. So, and you're not locked in.
I did not know that. Okay.
And our Libros can serve as well. So, yeah, I can run in like hockey. I could put a whole new lineup in and just shift them out after every point if I run out of subs. There's been certain coaches that do that. So it's like, I don't think it's going to be a problem to make sure everyone is feeling like they're contributing.
One more thing that I also find really interesting is that your assistant coach is a female, the way that it should be. Like, men and women should be coaching men and women. There should not be any gender preference for any of the genders. Like, tell me, like, what is your reasoning behind that, and how you make sure that she has a good voice in your team, and what is her role right now?
Well, she unfortunately she got promoted, or fortunately she got promoted in our department, and so now she is in charge of this is bad, our academic coordinator, and so she is fully in charge of that.
Okay.
Prior to that, though, for last year, she wanted to get her foot in the college coaching door, and I was like, oh, absolutely. I would love to hear your perspective on things, because obviously, yeah, where she's coming from is way different than where I'm coming from. And so I love that it was a different perspective. And then it was also, if she would ever get upset, look out. It was, that was something I was very happy to have on my bench next to me. So yeah, the guys definitely respected her when it came to that. There was some learning curve for her, the difference between women's games and men's games, but her attitude going into it, she was like, yeah, please teach me whatever you need to go. So yeah, I absolutely, in fact, my search for a GA now, I interviewed 2 different females to be part of the program. I'm like, are you okay coaching guys? I got your back. You're going to have an opportunity to coach them. But yeah, I mean, especially if you're like a libero or something like that. Yeah, let's teach them way different way to think about passing. Absolutely. Let's get it happen.
Eric, how do we get more opportunities for women in the men's game? Like, what are some things that you make sure that your guys know about how to respond to her coaching for her to feel embraced and respected?
I think the toughest thing that my guys had to get through is some of the chants they would do during games after they would celebrate were a tad bit misogynistic. And so we had to retrain them on how to cheer properly and certain words they would use. But they started getting why they shouldn't, even though it was just normal what they grew up with. It's like, yeah, no, that's not cool. And so, yeah, that was part of it. As far as experience goes, it's what are you as a head coach wanting to promote? What are you trying to make happen? Are you trying to grow the game? Or are you just trying to hold on to your power? And if, like, obviously men's volleyball, we want more colleges to pick it up, then why limit it of, okay, so what, she might not be, hitting as high as your guys. It doesn't mean she can't deliver a lot of knowledge to the team.
And it is part of the inclusion. And what I like, Eric, is that you have paid it forward. You have made sure that inclusion is, because I feel that diversity is something that comes with nature. If you're in a diverse place, that's going to be, what it is. But inclusion is something that you have to provoke to happen. You have to make sure that everyone feels that way. You have to make sure that everyone feels welcome. So, having both genders involved in the game and having, different communities involved in the game is so important. I want to close out asking you this, like, Eric, what message will you have for anyone out there wondering what kind of opportunities they have if they feel they have any type of disability? Like, what do you feel that what you have is a disability? Tell people out there why they should not feel that way.
So in the Paralympic community, there's a lot of warring thoughts of, yes, we're disabled, but we're like, I don't think too many people like to be labeled disabled, if that makes sense.
I think that discrimination is the worst disability that there is out there, and there's a lot of people discriminating. So, but anyway, please continue.
It's always interesting of, like, from me, I was born this way. And so that my mindset, it's normal for me to go through everyday skills like that of being able to push through it. And you'll see that as well. Even in our team, there's mindset differences between people who are born with a limb loss versus people who lost it through a traumatic accident. And of how they're approaching problems and how they view themselves and everything like that. As far as the message I would deliver to everybody, it's just please don't hesitate to reach out. Whether or not you qualify or not, we're going to figure out a way. Even we'll get you to come to camps and get you to embrace the sport, because you might be an ambassador for us later on. USA Volleyball in general wants more people playing. So why would you ever stop yourself from trying to get this awesome sport off the ground? It's like, no, just come down. Reach out to me. I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction. You name it.
So basically, the key here is to make sure that we know that there's an opportunity for everyone, no matter age, no matter your gender, no matter your color, religion, or physical disability. There's an opportunity out there that a door will open for everyone that wants one. And I think that throughout these hard times, it's good to know that there are chances out there, that there is hope out there, and that I'm excited about the Olympics of next year. I cannot wait to watch you guys compete. Do you guys know already your bracket or anything like that?
We haven't qualified yet, so once this last chance qualifier takes place in Germany, we have to win that in order to go. So we're still hoping that it's going to take place and one that will be going. Okay,
got it. Eric, it's been an honor for me, sharing this conversation with you. I appreciate you educating me and the public on power volley and and everything involved within that matter. Also, the NAIA. Interesting to see the growth of the game now in a different league like the NAIA. 25 players, man. That's amazing. And I know that you're actively recruiting anyway, right, Eric?
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Well, and so excited for you to be coaching at the NAIA level while you're aspiring to be on your third Olympic, Eric?
Correct. I'm the only Olympian, Paralympian that is a head coach of any level. Doesn't matter. I'm the only one doing it. Everyone else retires from playing, and then they become a coach. So
interesting. Are you wanting to also be a Paralympic coach one day?
Oh, yes. I think I would love that. It doesn't have to be for Team USA. As much as I would love that, I'll coach wherever.
Okay, perfect. Well, hopefully, once this pandemic is over, you can come and get to our university here and give a para volley clinic.
I would love to.
In our town, and then maybe go to Puerto Rico and do the same. You have 12 players from Puerto Rico right now on your team. So I think that this could be a perfect opportunity for you to go there. And then, let's create some sort of clinics.
Oh, I'm sure they would love that.
Definitely.
One last thing. I'm still looking for a GA. So if anybody wants to come out, I would love to have a GA. So
what are the requirements that you're looking for as a GA?
That you want to get into coaching. That's basically it. I can take care of tuition, and I have a stipend for it as well.
Tell people where Live University is located, Eric.
Exactly. We're in Marietta, Georgia. So if anyone's familiar with Atlanta area, we're just outside the perimeter. We're right next to the Atlanta Braves Stadium. So it's a small campus, but big city. It's a best of both worlds.
And one more thing, what are some of the options for graduate school there that they could think about?
We don't have a lot, and I think that's where I'm hitting a stumbling block. We have positive psychology, which would help with the coach if you really want to get into coaching.
Man, we need that.
For coaching.
We definitely need that. Yes.
We have athletic training. We have a nutrition, and it's something to go into our doctorate of chiropractic.
Okay, perfect. Well, there you go, people. Anyone interested, for graduate school and also getting into coaching at the college level, Coach Eric Duda is looking for someone, male or female,
Oh yeah.
to go in and help out the team. And of course, it could also be, from any place in the world, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
because you have 12 people that speak Spanish on your team, and then do you have
More.
any more?
I have 3 Colombians.
You have 3 Colombians, so there you go. You have 15 people there. So I encourage everyone to try to get in the game this way. I think it's actually the easiest way to get into college coaching. Is through actually being a GA. So I encourage everyone to do that. And for everyone watching out there, I think it's our responsibility to open more doors, not just for the college game now where Eric is coaching, but also for the power volley world. And it starts with us. We can actually show more interest for playing this game. We can show more interest to supporting this game. So no matter where we go, no matter where we stand, no matter what age, let's make sure that this is part of the conversation that we're putting out there. Even if we can actually put it on middle schools, high schools, anywhere, let's try to open doors for people. So this has been Eric Duda, current head volleyball coach for Live University, future 3-time Olympian, because that is going to happen.
Yes.
And my good friend as well. And this is Manolo Concepcion for Volley Junkies. Please remember, people, that we have the new virtual library for volleyball. It's mostly in Spanish, but it's for everyone. There is a section for power volley that, Eric, I would love to get more information from you to post out there. But people can find information about most of the sports of volleyball. And subjects like neuroscience, sports psychology, technique, tactic, anything involved with scouting reports, any motivational videos, you can find it in volleyjunkies.com. And also for Spanish speakers, but if you speak English, you can go into the YouTube version and translate it. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a strength and conditioning coach that also specializes in statting. But that conversation will be in Spanish. So I look forward to having everyone tomorrow as well. And Eric, please take care throughout this pandemic. And thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you for having me.